Hello, and welcome back to the Mainly Sports Podcast. He's Jeesh,
And he's Shoop.
and today's podcast is on our top sports moments of our lifetime. This is not going to be a top 10 list, only because we don't want to make anything feel like it's less important. So we're just gonna name our top 10 in no order. It's just gonna be our 10 top sports moments. So with that, Jeesh, you take it away, buddy.
All right. So, starting off a top sports moment is I'm going to start it off on a down note. It's not really a top sports moment, but Dale Earnhardt Sr. dying at Daytona is a major sports moment. And for me, being as young as I was growing up watching the NASCAR Cup Series, and Dale Earnhardt was one of the top dogs in the sport, along with Jeff Gordon. And seeing the crash live at the end of the 2001 Daytona 500, um, and then going home, and then a couple hours later, ESPN showing his picture on the TV screen saying 1951 to 2001. It just sunk all of NASCAR's community's hearts. And Dale Earnhardt was loved by so many, and NASCAR would not be what it is today safety wise if it was not for that accident. I'm not saying the accident was good, but his death has changed the sport for the better. If you catch my drift.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I was like a casual NASCAR fan at that time because I didn't get into it
Mm-hmm.
until like a little bit later into the early 2000s, and then I got out of it later on in the 2000s. Um, well, actually, early 2010s is when I really got out of it. Um, but yeah, no, that was big even for the casual fans, like the people that knew of NASCAR but didn't really care about it. Even they were devastated by that. So that's actually very true. I feel ashamed I didn't put that even in my honorable mention. Um, but I'll start off with my not so good one as well, and so the rest can be feel good moments. Aaron Hernandez.
Okay.
Aaron Hernandez. That whole thing was just absurd, and the reason why it's a sports moment that comes to my mind is because even non-sports fans were fascinated by it. I mean, look at the Netflix original they put out for it. Millions upon millions flocked to that, and that's all people were talking about years after it happened. And when it did happen, especially in the organization that he played for, everybody was like, how the hell did that happen, and how did he get away with it for so long? Um, so, uh, yeah, Aaron Hernandez is definitely my sports moments just simply for that. I don't think it's a good sports moment. Um,
Right.
I I think he's a despicable, horrible person, but um, yeah, it's definitely memorable when you think of sports moments through our lifetime. That's one that comes to my mind right off the bat. So that's one of them for me.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. Um, the Aaron Hernandez thing came as a bit of a shock to everybody. I think just because no one expected it to happen. But yeah, that could honestly be a whole other podcast. But um, all right, we're gonna move on here, and we're gonna pick up with Tiger Woods winning the Open after his dad died. And the reason why I picked this one was he played so well. I could have picked another. I could have picked another one, and I'll get into it in a couple seconds here. But him winning that tournament after right after his dad passed away was just so emotional throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then when it was televised, and him hitting the final shot, the whole crowd was quiet, and the ball went in the hole, and the whole crowd just erupted. It was the loudest I've ever seen anybody at a golf course be at any tournament or any hole, and just the pure emotion that he showed after that match, hugging his caddy, and just everything after that was he dedicated the whole thing to his dad, and it was just a special moment.
Um, yeah, I actually like that this is not a top 10 list because I can actually follow that up now. Because I also have a Tiger Woods moment. It's not so emotional as that one, but it's Tiger Woods' first tour win after coming back from his whole scandal,
Right. Yep.
and all the injuries. And the reason why I put that one is because he battled his way back. Like you can think what he wants or what you want about him as a person. But there's a lot of people that cheat, and people don't lose their career over it. And what he did was wrong, yes, but I don't. I feel like he got a lot of unfair criticism just because of him being so famous
Right.
for it, and for him to battle back and through all the injuries and be looking terrible. He looked terrible when he came back. Um, and then for him to finally put in all the work that he did, have the surgeries on his back that he did, and everything else, and then to come back and win it, like you saw it, like he was the happiest man in the world when he got his first win after coming
Yeah.
back. It was such a good moment. Like I'm not that big into golf, but that moment was like so big just because of everything he had gone through. It was kind of like a real life redemption movie. Is really what it
Right.
was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
actually happened. So it was just cool. So I have that in my top 10 sports moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree with that. I actually had that on my list. I switched it for the the U.S. Open match,
Yep.
but I can definitely agree with what you're saying with that one.
Which
Um,
both of them deserve to be on the list anyways. So
yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. We're gonna move on here, and we're gonna talk about another one with Cubs. Chicago Cubs finally win the World Series after so many years of not winning it. Um, the anticipation that the Cubs had going into this playoffs, knowing that they were one of the best teams in baseball. Everyone said, "Oh, this is the Cubs year. This is the Cubs year," and they said that for the last 108 years, something like that. That the Cubs are gonna go to the World Series and win it, but it was always something that stopped them from doing it. And you just watched that World Series against the Indians, and they went to Game 7, and then it goes into extra innings, and it's like, oh, how are they going to lose it this time? There's got to be a way. What's the curse? And then they get the runs in the, I can't even remember what the inning was, but it was like the top of the 13th or something. And then they go on the defensive side of the ball and they close it out, and they just storm the field. It's just seeing the Cubs. I'm not a Cubs fan, but seeing that, no one else is saying it's seen a Chicago Cubs World Series. I can guarantee that, and we saw it, and that was very special.
yeah, yep. And really, honestly, I mean, it's more special that the Cubs won, but no matter which team won, the world was
Right.
gonna be happy
Yeah.
for them.
Right. Yeah. The
So
Indians were in the same boat too, and not as long, but
yeah, exactly. So I mean, either way, it was a win-win. But it's definitely a better story that the Cubs won. So
yeah.
um, my next one that I'm going to put up is the Concussion movie from Will Smith, and the reason why that's a sports moment for me is because it literally changed all of sports as we know it. It literally changed every single sport, especially football, but it changed every single sport's outlook on concussions and protection of the athletes. So I put that one in there because if you look at it, ever since then, helmets have changed like what 3 or 4 times to get better. You see all these new rules to not hitting the head and all this other stuff, and you've even seen in other sports where they're trying to protect the athletes from concussions and head injuries. So and it made people more aware as well. Like I think honestly, if it wouldn't have been so apparent by that movie, Dale Earnhardt Jr. might not have retired because of concussions.
Yeah.
So I think it made people more aware, rightfully so, for good and bad actually, because I think we might be too conscious about it at certain times, too protective, but at the same time, it brought good light to be more protective of our body and actually care about our body and be careful. So
Right. Yep.
the concussion movie from Will Smith, and that whole the entire concussion protocol and everything else like that is another one of my sports moments.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a huge moment, and like concussions have changed everything. Like you said, people the CTE they get the CTE stuff and then just they lose their mind. But everything's getting fixed now, and the rules are getting changed, and it's all coming together for the better. All right, moving on. We're going to move on to the Saints winning at home for the first time since Katrina. That game was just Monday night. It was Sunday night football. Everyone was watching it, and I think probably maybe one of the worst catastrophes to ever hit the maybe not ever in the United States, but in New Orleans, it destroyed New Orleans, and that whole community came together in the shelter. They all came into the shelter and stayed in the Superdome. A lot of people did, and them getting that stadium ready and having that home game and seeing the marching bands and the Saints songs playing, the Saints come marching in and all this stuff, and then the block punt to set it up, and especially playing the Falcons, a rivalry team, and coming in there and winning the game, you can't beat that. It made that city just feel so much relief knowing that, hey, everything's going to be all right.
Exactly. I might as well talk about it because I have it on my list as well, so I'll just say it next as well. The most iconic thing about that whole thing is literally they started out the game by forcing a 3-and-out, blocking a punt, and returning for a touchdown. It's magical. Again, it's not a redemption story, but that's like out of a fairy tale. That game could not have started any better for the Saints, and just the way the crowd erupted when that happened, it was crazy. It gives you goosebumps. So that's all really I got to add to it is that. So yeah, that's one of mine as well. So
all right, moving up the next one on the list. Well, next one I'm going to talk about is we're going to get this one out of the way. I talked about Dale Earnhardt dying at Daytona in 2001, and then this one is another top moment. Is Dale Jr. coming back to Daytona for the first time in 2001, and coming back to the same track where his father passed away and winning the night race, the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, and him winning that race just topped it off because they had all these races leading up to this. They had Kevin Harvick winning at Atlanta. They had Steve Park winning at Rockingham, and now they go back to Daytona. And Steve Park was a DEI car who Dale Earnhardt owned, and Kevin Harvick took over for Dale Earnhardt. If no one knows who's out there watching this right now about NASCAR, which I'm sure a lot of people don't. So Kevin Harvick took over, won, and then Steve Park won in DEI car. And then Dale Jr., like I said, came back, won this race. And not to mention, Michael Waltrip, who won the Daytona 500 that Dale Earnhardt died in, finished second to Dale Jr. In the reverse order, they finished in the Daytona race earlier that year. And it was just the call, the broadcast call by Alan Bestwick, the way they finished, and then the celebration they had in the infield. They both parked it on the infield and gave each other a huge hug so they both could celebrate. And it was about the same thing with the Saints. Like, listen, everything's going to be all right. We got this. We can move on.
Yep, that's a good one. Also, it's creepy because he won that race, and then he also won on Father's Day that time, which was really weird. It almost makes you go, maybe he is looking down. Like it was weird, for sure. All right. Well, the next one on my list, or another one on my list, is I have down. All I wrote down for this was our effing city. Big Papi. This is the one where it's just 2-1. All that, him coming out there saying it, and the whole speech, everybody there rallying for Boston, and then them winning the finals, the World Series that year was just the cherry on top. And it's just as a Red Sox fan, and it was just cool. It was the best way for that story to end, and nobody else is more Boston than Big Papi. Yeah. So, and I think he's the only one that could get away with saying this is our effing city on national television, and nobody even bat an eye to it. Right. So, that was just such a good moment. And when they did win the World Series, all you could say was, "This is our effing city." So, that's one of my moments.
Okay. Yep. I agree with that one. On the same subject, we're going to move next on one of the ones on this list. We're going to stick with the Red Sox, and we're going to talk. This is also a double. And it's two completely doubles, which is kind of ironic. Them winning the World Series in '04 after 86 years is in here. They couldn't have won it if they didn't come back from 3-0 against the Yankees that in the ALCS, and it all started with that Dave Roberts stolen base. And then I'm not going to talk about the Yankees at all because we don't like the Yankees. But them winning the World Series in '04 after all the curse of the Bambino, everything you could name, all kinds of things. The curse that they had the ball going through Buckner. They had Bucky Dent. They had all kinds. I'm not even. We can make a whole podcast about the Red Sox right now, but we're not going to do that. But 86 years after winning it, and they come back in '04 and sweep the Cardinals. So you sweep the Cardinals after coming back from 3-0 against the Yankees, and you dominate the World Series. It's like, oh. Anyway, the ball coming back to the pitcher, and he's throwing it to first base and saying, "Yeah, the end." Just you go listen to the call. Any Red Sox fan will be like, "Yeah, we'll always remember that."
Yeah, and that was so big in our area, dude. Like we were younger, because I'm 24. You're right around the same age, right? So we were
20,
huh?
26, 26, 27.
20,
Wait,
come on, figure it out. It's your age here, but we'll wait while you figure it out.
I am 27 years old.
All right. He just had a birthday, so he's unsure. But dude, like right after that happened, going to school, like I just remember everybody in my school, like all the teachers having the newspaper of it and everything else. Like they were putting it up on the wall, and it was just ridiculous. Like everybody lost their mind in our area.
I remember going into, like you said, everyone had the papers and everything, and the one article that stands out to me is what was my math teacher, and the headline was "Hell freezes over," and I always thought like that was the best. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yep. All right. So the next one I'm going to put up is the first Sunday after 9/11, the first Sunday football.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a rally, dude. Because this wasn't just one city. This was an entire country. And it was crazy to see on TV, like, because it was still fresh and everything else. And they were still sorting through the rubble of it. And so it was still like a serious thing still happening. Like, you didn't know how many people had died or what had happened to everybody, all these people that were missing from it and everything else. And it showed just how resilient we are as a nation, as a country. And it showed just how much sports can do in the healing process for people. Everybody was down, everybody was sad. We were younger, so we lived through it, but we didn't necessarily understand the full grasp of it. But the people that did, they were upset, they were scared, they didn't know what was going to happen. But when that Sunday came around, everybody came together as one for football, and football helped everybody come together, and just for at least 2-3 hours, helped them escape for a little bit and just enjoy themselves. So if you go back and just watch that first Sunday of football after 9/11, it's such a feel good moment the whole time. Like like many times in this list and the wrestling matches list, you just can't help but smile at just what it shows as a country and what sports can do in the healing process. So that's on my list.
It's definitely, the whole country came together that Sunday, healing wise.
Yeah.
So my next one, I should have talked about this before. I talked about the Red Sox because I hate the Yankees, but as much as I hate the Yankees, I respect this player, and I know you probably respect him too. Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter's final home game in Yankee Stadium, him walking it off and driving in that winning run, where fantasy becomes reality. You can't help. I don't care if you're a Red Sox fan. You got to respect Derek Jeter. He had a very long career. He started in 96 or something like that. Yep. He never really was that like I said, the Red Sox and the Yankees had this big rivalry, but it wasn't like, oh, we all hate Derek Jeter. I mean, Derek Jeter was always the best player on the team, but it's like, dude's good.
Yeah.
He has a reason to. He could say what he wants or whatever, and he wasn't a home run hitter or anything. He was more of that a technical hitter. He could hit the singles and the doubles and drive in the runs and steal the bases and field the ball and make amazing plays in the field. And him him coming out on that final at bat and just the announcement of him coming out, the people up in the announcement and then the announcers in the booth, Derek Jeter, and then it's like boom, walks it off, and you cannot end a career better than that besides winning the World Series. But we don't want that. But walking it off for the Yankees in a final game where it didn't matter for us, yeah, you can't beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Derek Jeter is probably the one Yankee through that rivalry. Because the rivalry, let's be real here, for a long time, through that 86 years, the Yankees are just the big brother and we're the little brother that could never compete.
Yeah.
Or pull out the win, I guess you could say. But throughout that rivalry, I think that Derek Jeter is the only one from the Yankees that Red Sox fans alike, most Red Sox fans, there's some of them diehards that would say, "Oh, just because he played for the Yankees, he's trash." But
Right.
people that respect the game and that are Red Sox fans will say that Derek Jeter might be the only Yankee that they don't despise, like that they actually respect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. Dude, also he had that walk off to end his career, but also with his 3,000th hit, because not many people get 3,000 hits.
Yeah.
He hit a home run, like
Yeah.
how you so lucky, not lucky, but just how do you get two magical moments like that in your career? Like that's so cool.
Mhm. Right.
So yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that one. The next one for me is Jerome Bettis winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's not the Steelers winning the Super Bowl. That is Jerome Bettis personally winning the Super Bowl. And I think what makes it so amazing for me is just because if you go back and watch America's Game that NFL Network put out on that 2005 season,
Mm-hmm.
Ben Roethlisberger wanted Ben Roethlisberger wanted Jerome Bettis to come back for one more year. Jerome Bettis was going to hang it up after that 2004 season, and Ben Roethlisberger promised Jerome Bettis in the offseason, just come back for one more year and I will give you 4 game balls, meaning all 4 playoff games. And because they weren't they were good, but uh, they were looked at as a powerhouse, but they were looked at as a team that just wouldn't be able to make it over the hump.
Yeah.
And Ben Roethlisberger promised that in just his second year. Okay, it was his second year. Promised him 4 game balls in a Super Bowl, and Jerome Bettis trusted him enough to come back for one more year, and he gave them all 4. And it was just so cool. And then the AFC Championship game against the Colts, Jerome Bettis almost fumbling the game away,
Yeah.
breaking down on the sidelines. Big Ben, the shoestring tackle, like another sign, like, dude, I told you 4 game balls and nothing's gonna stop us from getting you them game balls. And then just the speech at the end of the Super Bowl, the bus started here in Detroit and the last stop is here in Detroit. He won a Super Bowl, his only Super Bowl in his final year in his home city. I got goosebumps right now just talking about it. Like, dude, it's such a good moment. It's just the relief of his entire career finally culminating in his final goal. And it's such a beautiful moment. So for
Yeah.
me, that's up there so high on my list. So
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Jerome Bettis was a great running back, and watching that Super Bowl and him doing the speech, even as a non-Steelers fan, it just gives you goosebumps. Just like just the words that he said after that whole game, and it's just like, yeah, it's meant for him to retire. Yeah.
yep.
All right. So since you talked about your Steelers, I got to talk about my Eagles here for a second. And the Eagles winning their one and only Super Bowl they've ever won. Um, I've waited so long. Well, not really. I mean, I didn't wait 86 years, but I
Just
waited a long time.
you
I waited a
but you
long
can
time.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can say that you waited a lifetime for that to happen. So say it.
I did. I've waited a lifetime for that to happen, and I'm sure I'm going to see plenty of more. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Um, maybe not with the quarterback we have now. Shout out to Jalen Hurts, our new addition. Um, but the Eagles winning the Super Bowl by, and then like Carson Wentz went down at the end of the regular season, and They wouldn't have got there if it wasn't for Wentz. They got to the playoffs with Wentz, and then yes, Nick Foles came in and did the dirty work and got them to the Super Bowl, never giving up, and then the play, the Philly. Patriots never saw it coming. Bill Belichick, the mastermind. It's 4th and goal. What are you gonna do? Eagles come out. Doug Peterson runs up a play, and boom, that changes the whole concept of the game. Patriots could never really recover from that. And then Tom Brady getting sacked at the end of it there, fumbling the ball away. Such a great game. I was watching it with my dad because he's a Patriots fan, and I had my Eagles jersey on. And I couldn't even talk to him because I was just staring at the TV like, what am I supposed to do right now?
I watched that game with Kyle and in party chat, and I annoyed the living hell out of him because for one day, no offense, I was a bigger Eagles fan than you were. Dude, I was screaming at my TV. I was screaming at referees. When they had that play that with Zach Ertz there, the scoring touchdown to take the lead, I was having a meltdown because of my Steelers.
I'm sure.
Because of my Steelers getting screwed over by the refs against the Patriots on the same exact kind of thing. And I was like, if they call this back, I swear to God, I was losing my mind. Kyle was telling me to shut up. He was going to mute me. And but the Eagles pulled it out, and weirdly enough, I'm actually very happy that they did. So, but let's piggyback off of Philadelphia then, because one of mine actually is Andy Reid winning the Super Bowl. Finally. Dude, if anybody deserved, my last one was Jerome Bettis, who deserves a Super Bowl. If anybody deserved a Super Bowl, Andy Reid. Because if he would have retired being the greatest coach in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl, it would have been a damn shame. Because that man can coach his ass off. He built the Eagles from really nothing to being a playoff team that could get to the Super Bowl. And they were perennially a great team in the league. And then, or a very good team in the league. I'm not going to say great because they underperformed in the playoffs. And I don't think that had to do all with Andy Reid. Andy Reid got a lot of the blame, but I think that had to do a lot with Don McNabb. But and then going to Kansas City and building that team from not much. It didn't have much to building a powerhouse. It helps that he got Patrick Mahomes. But even before Patrick Mahomes, they were still a really good team with Alex Smith. So he's such an underrated coach, or was an underrated coach. Now not so much anymore. But he deserved it so much, and I was so that was the only thing that really made me happy about Kansas City winning the Super Bowl this year, was that Andy Reid finally got it, and you could just see how happy he was. So that's another one on my list.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I was happy the Chiefs won, was because of Andy Reid. Any other reason, I did not want them to win. But like I said, congratulations to the Super Bowl champions this year. Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid. Shout out to them. Moving on to mine, we're gonna go to basketball here, and Ray Allen. I know you're not a big Ray Allen fan, but when he was in Miami and it came down, and like you say, LeBron always gets saved. And yes, LeBron definitely got saved this time. And as a matter of fact, he took the shot that Chris Bosh had to grab the rebound on and kick it out to Ray Allen. And Mike Breen just played that call so good. LeBron's three-pointer, no good. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen, his three-pointer, bang. Like, oh my God. I was sitting at my dad's house watching the game, and I was like, oh, this is over. Like, we're not going to win this game. Like, we're going to lose 2 finals in a row. And we're supposed to be the super team. And then, like, I'm watching him dribble down the court. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, we have a chance. And LeBron misses the three-pointer. And I'm just like, oh, it's over again. And I see Bosh, and I'm like, oh, he kicked it out to Allen. I'm like, oh, he got it. And then I'm punching the floor repeatedly. I'm like, we got this. Ray does it and ties the game. And then we win it in overtime. And then we go on and win game 7. Like that. That is my favorite Miami Heat moment.
That's my least favorite Ray Allen moment. Dude, it's so good. Like, I'll admit it. It's amazing. The fact that he never looked down. He knew exactly where the out of bounds line was. He knew exactly where the 3-point line was. And it was just, it's crazy. But I hate Ray Allen for what he for it. Just oh man, yeah, that one hurts as a Celtics fan. My second to last one because we only have one more after this.
hmm
And I'm saving the other one just because you'll see why, but it's definitely far different than anything you have on your list. I'll say that. Um, my other one is the Rose Bowl in 2006 with Vince Young beating Reggie Bush's Trojans.
hmm
And the reason why is I get it. It's known as the greatest game in college football history, and by some, it's in the top five at least. Um, but the reason why that's on my list is very personal to me is because that's what got me into actually paying attention to college football. So, and which is weird. I'm a Tennessee Volunteers fan, so I'm not even a fan of either team. But it made me pay attention. Like I already love football, obviously, and I love the NFL, obviously, but I never gave college football a chance before that. And the only reason why I watched it was because I was actually at my cousin's house, and he had just got his new apartment, and my dad had to do something. He was babysitting me in a way, I guess, but um, I was at his place, and he was gonna watch it. And dude, that's probably one of the best experiences I ever had watching a football game. So that's why I got the Rose Bowl in here because it just personally to me it turned me on to a whole nother league of football. And since I love football so much, it was just that's why it's in my top 10 sports moments. And it's not even just the outcome of the game or what happened in the game. It's just that game itself because of what it opened my eyes to.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the greatest games ever in college football history. Um, Vince Young and Reggie Bush both didn't turn out to be anything really, but they both put on great shows in college.
Yep. And I think that's what's beautiful about it too, is that they didn't have a good career in the NFL, but they had a great career in college, and that's why I'm so happy that it opened my eyes to college because a lot of these college players that come to the NFL don't play very well or they just don't transition to the NFL well. But when they're in college, they're amazing. So you get to see like new talent and guys go and that you go, man, I heard of him in the NFL, but he's never panned out to anything. He could do that in college, like it's just so cool. So yeah.
Um, all right, moving on.
What's your honorable mention?
Oh, my honorable mention is Kevin Garnett after the Celtics win the 2008 NBA Finals. Anything's possible.
Oh no. Anything's possible.
Him doing that was just it's iconic. Like, um, I could have said my other honorable mention for Kobe Bryant dying because that was a big story, but I'm not going to, even though I just said it. So
Yeah.
rest in peace, Kobe. But anyway, moving on to the other one that brings me back to Kobe. I saved the Kobe one for last just because it's Kobe. So Kobe Bryant's last game, putting up 60 points. You couldn't have painted a better picture for a better career. Kobe Bryant had anyone can argue the top players in basketball of all time, but I put Kobe Bryant in top 5. I'm not going to say top 3 yet. It's another podcast possibly, but I'm putting him in top 5 guaranteed. Five-time champion. He played for the Lakers, so we didn't really like him that much, but he was like a Derek Jeter for the Yankees. You got to respect the guy because of what he did. A little less than the Derek Jeter thing because it was Kobe. Kobe Bryant, like I said, the last game, put up 60 points at the last game after the way he played all year. I mean, granted, he took a lot of shots to get there, but he was so clutch in that game and won them the game with his 2 clutch free throws to give him the 60 points. Shaquille O'Neal told him to go out and get 50, and he got 60. So Kobe you tell Kobe to do something, he'll do it. He'll do it just as better. He'll do it a little bit better every time. He'll prove it to you that he still got it, and he did still have it. He probably was feeling it the next day for sure. Guess what? Kobe Bryant went up 60 points in his final game. It's always going to be a top moment in NBA history because of because of what happened and them being at Staples Center doing it. I think they're at home. I'm not sure. They might have been in Utah.
Yeah,
but they were in Utah. Okay.
no, they were home.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So him doing it on the grandest stage, one of the grandest stages at Staples Center, um, where all the celebrities were out watching him, and all of America was tuned in watching this game or heard about it. And it was Kobe Bryant, like putting up 60 in his last game. And I'm gonna stop rambling on about it. Rest in peace, Kobe.
The 60 points is crazy, yeah. But the most iconic part of that is the last 3 minutes. He
Yeah.
didn't miss a shot to end it, and they were down, and he brought them back, like hitting up deep twos in people's face.
Right.
Like it
Yeah.
was just, and the whole crowd's going crazy. Jack Nicholson lost his friggin' mind. I thought he was gonna have a heart attack in the front row, dude. Like it was just, and everybody's going, "Wow, is this really happening?" Like it was
Right.
crazy. And then see Kobe like literally out of breath, like hyperventilating on the bench, and the sweat dripping off him, dude. And the Mamba mentality, dude. He just got right back up and kept going. Like,
Right.
oh, so
Yeah.
iconic.
And then at the end of the Mamba out.
Yep.
And he just
Oh,
walks off like, you
dude.
can't.
The watching, like I told you, I didn't shed a tear at all until I saw in one of the videos after he passed away his last game and him interviewing or whatever, talking to the crowd, and
Mm-hmm.
when you just see him talking and you see his wife and his girls, and then you see Gigi, just how much, like, dude, she was looking at him like smiling like the whole time, like it's just how much
Yeah.
she idolized him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, and then he used to, like, Mamba out, and then you saw the R.I.P. Kobe. It was just,
Right.
man, like now that moment means so much more now that he's gone. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Which
Yeah, it hits me more in the feels than any other like person's death because I know you grew up watching him too, but we grew up watching Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was the top dog, and it's just what you grew so fond of watching him play and like watching the style he did and like back you down and all this stuff and all the rivalry with the Celtics and stuff and like yeah and just him. Not even necessarily a 60-point game, but the whole Kobe Bryant thing of him passing away and stuff is just like, damn, that's Kobe.
yeah, that moment when you actually see it, and
Right.
you're like, dude,
I
that could literally
you
happen
didn't
to anybody.
believe it. You did not want to believe it when
No.
it happened.
Dude,
I mean, you don't want
you're
to
the one.
anybody, but
You're the one that told me. You messaged me. I was still sleeping, and you messaged me, and you're like, dude, Kobe died. I was like, no way, get out of here. Like, that was legit too. Like, you really texted me. Like, that's how I found out. And
I called my dad right after I found out, and I was like, I texted him because he didn't answer. I was like, Kobe died, and he's like, huh? And I called him. He's like, is it true? And I was like, yeah. My dad's a huge Celtics fan, just like you. And he's like, damn, that's horrible.
yeah, dude, it made you realize that if Kobe can die that young, who else can? Like,
Kobe's
it's
had
crazy.
it all. Like,
For real.
had it all.
This is kind of unfair that I have this on my list because it's literally on nobody else's list. But my other sports moment of my lifetime is my son's first season of soccer.
Okay.
100%. Because I was big into sports. I was never into soccer, but I was big into sports, and still am, obviously. And to see my son go out there and start playing sports and getting into it, it was so cool. Like, I was super vocal. Like, when I played baseball and I played football, I was super vocal on the field all the time. And I was that guy freaking high-fiving everybody, all amped up and everything else. But it does not compare to how amped up I was. I was that dad yelling at my son on the sidelines. Like, I was coaching from the sidelines. And the happiness that I saw, or that I felt, my son's first goal, and by the way, it was his second ever game. Never touched a soccer ball before, and it was the second game that he scored. I'm just saying, it's impressive. It was so cool. I didn't miss a single practice, and I didn't miss a single game, and it was just so cool to see it. I have my son's medal on my wall. He doesn't have his soccer medal. It's mine. It's just it made me it just reminds you of it reminded me of what sports means to me, and the fact that sports is my favorite thing in the world, and for my son to start getting into that, now we share that bond too. It's so cool. So that's by far, I mean, there's great moments in all of sports, but that will forever be my greatest moment ever, by far.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting to see my son and the smile on his face and just how happy he was. It was just great. Sense of pride. I was so proud, and I got to end his soccer season. The parents came out. The parents came out and got to play as well, like with the kids and stuff like that. His first season, he finished his first season laying on his back in the mud with me because he tried to score a goal that I was about to score, and then we fought over the ball because we're not good teammates. We'd never be a good team, and we both slipped in the mud and fell. So that's how his season ended, was him blocking his own father's goal when we're on the same team. So yeah.
So he has your competitiveness. Lovely.
Yeah.
He's
very
competitive.
Dude, like his first game, I was so pissed because, I wasn't pissed, but I was just, I don't want to say disappointed either, but I was kind of disappointed because his first game, he had his hands in his pockets. Like my son's super shy, so he had his hands in his pockets. He was just standing there, and I told him, if I see you with your hands in your pockets, then you will not play in the next game from now on. If you were going to stop, because they lost that first game, and he stood there the entire time. He didn't really do too much, and it's more because he was just shy, but it wasn't that he didn't want to do it. It was that he was just shy. And I told him, from now on, if you have your hands in your pockets, you will not play in the next game. And from that day forward, every single game, he never had his hands in his pockets, and he never stopped running. He just kept going. And they also didn't lose a game after that. They were undefeated after that first game. And I might have been a little harsh, but I was like, dude, the reason why you guys lost is you. You stood there. If you had everybody moving, you guys wouldn't have lost. And he actually listened to what I said, and they didn't lose. So it was just cool, and getting to have that interaction with him, dude. It was so cool getting to actually talk sports with him, because before that he didn't care about sports. So to be able to talk about sports with him and stuff like that, it was so cool. That's enough of my rambling. It makes me so happy.
Thanks for listening to the Mainly Sports Podcast with Shoop and Jeesh. Make sure to leave a comment and give us your top 10 list. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at mainly_sports. And that's mainly_sports, MAINELY_SPORTZ. Thank you. Till next time.